On the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me a partridge in a pear tree.
And on the second day of Christmas, my true love gave to me...
Welcome back to the Advent Calendar House, a salute to all holiday specials, but mostly the Christmas ones. And today's episode is all about a TV special that I think sounds better on vinyl, 1979's John Denver and the Muppets, A Christmas Together. I am wooden toy soldier who somehow qualified for foreign combat despite being unable to stay in formation, Mike Westfall. And I'm sharing A Christmas Together with two pals who appreciate the Muppets on a much deeper level than I do. First, please welcome back to the podcast from Nerd Lunch and Dragonfly Ripple, it's Carlin Trammell. Hi-ho, CT.
Oh, Mikey, I was just wondering if I was looking at the script, Mikey, and I'm not particularly happy with what you have me down for on this podcast.
Well, don't you worry. I'll make sure you get plenty of lines.
I'm sorry, that's fantastic. Yeah, great.
Perfect. All right. And my next guest, if you've known me on the internet for longer than a decade, you'll know him as one of my longtime buds from Progressive Boink, and you can currently hear him on Uproxx's pro wrestling podcast, McMansplaining. It's Bill Handstock. Welcome, Bill.
I didn't know that I was going to be on a podcast with someone with such good Muppet impressions, so... Now I'm very self-conscious that I don't have many Muppet impressions to bring to the table.
That actually surprises me.
I'll do it for both of us, Bill.
Perfect.
Okay. About the best I can do is just
That'll do. It's a better Fozzie than I can do. So, but thank you to both of you. I'm thrilled that you're both here for this episode. If anyone has listened last year when CT was on talking about Muppet Family Christmas, we both went into a brief history of the Muppets in our own lives. And I mentioned listening to the John Denver and the Muppets album is one of the first things I remember in about life, period. But Bill, why don't you briefly talk about your history with growing up with the Muppets?
One of the first things I remember is watching the Muppet Show at my parents' when I was a kid at my house while my parents were married, and I only have like 3 or 4 memories of my parents being married because they were divorced when I was like 3. So that's the Muppets is one of them. Watching them together with both of my parents, so it's always been a big part of my life. The Muppet Show was big for me, like really big for me. Some of my other earliest memories heavily involve Sesame Street and the Mr. Hooper Christmas double vinyl. I listened to that a great deal. I listened to the Muppet Show soundtrack on 8-track.
Oh, wow.
The Muppet movie soundtrack on 8-track again and again and again. I had the Muppet Show album 2 on a cassette tape that I just listened to again and again and again, and I still own somewhere. But yeah, the Muppets were always really, really important to me throughout my entire life. I have a Muppet tattoo. I will probably have another at some point someday. But yeah, it's sort of a life dream to one day meet an actual Muppet, and I hope that happens at some point. I came a little bit close. I was lucky enough to be able to go see one of the 2 Muppets Take the Hollywood Bowl shows last year, which was a really important experience for me. But yeah, just a big Muppet fan.
Excellent.
I want to hear more about that tattoo. What's that tattoo of?
Uncle Deadly.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, I got an Uncle Deadly tattoo because I've always been fascinated by Uncle Deadly ever since I had a Muppet comic book where Uncle Deadly was sort of the monster at the end of the book, to lift the phrase from another Muppet. And I didn't know anything about him because I had never seen the Vincent Price episode of The Muppet Show. But I had just seen the drawings of him and pictures of him. So I was always really fascinated by him. I actually got the tattoo of him long before there were DVD releases of The Muppet Show, before there was the resurgence of Uncle Deadly and the Muppet movies with Jason Segel, and, of course, on the amazing new Muppets series, which I loved very much and didn't have any problems with, although other people did. And I'm glad that we got the amount of Muppets that we did from the new series, but I'm sad that it got canceled. But back when I got my Uncle Deadly tattoo, there were a grand total of 2 photographs of Uncle Deadly on the internet, and neither of them were featured. Like neither of those photos had all of Uncle Deadly, so his hands aren't completely accurate. But I still like my tattoo. It's good. I got to show it to Seth Green one time, and he was impressed.
That's right. I forgot that story. I knew you showed it to somebody, and I guess I thought I had inserted into my head that it was Jason Segel himself, but Seth Green. Now I remember.
I've also showed it. I mean, I've showed it to a lot of people at this point, but I showed it to Hornswoggle, who has Muppet tattoos of his own, and who was also in Muppets Most Wanted.
He was.
I've kind of met a Muppet.
Hornswoggle's as close as you're going to get. Without actually meeting a Muppet or a Muppet performer. So, well,
there is a Henson exhibit local to me at the moment that we're going to go check out in a few weeks. That has like a bunch of actual Muppets and actual like Fraggles and stuff. But it's not. I'm not going to be able to check it off my list until I meet a Muppet performer performing a Muppet.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Now you both probably knew about the album before ever knowing this was a TV special, like myself. Is that correct?
No, I think I remember the special. I remember watching. I mean, I would have only been like 3 or 4, but I remember having seen this aired. I don't know if it would have been the first year or a subsequent year when it might have aired again, but I did remember that there was the TV special, and then I got the album later.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I knew there was a special, and I knew that there was an album of the special. I don't know how I knew those things, perhaps from my parents, perhaps just from the way the world used to work in the early 80s of like, Kenny and Dolly have a Christmas special, and also you can buy the album of it. Like that sort of thing. Yeah. It was just a thing that happened. I didn't hear the entire album until, fairly recently, relatively, maybe 15 years or so. But I love the album to death. It's amazing. And until I watched this special recently, I thought I had seen more of the special than I actually had seen. But does the album blow the special away?
It does.
For sure.
Also, the album's like 4 times longer than it's like there's like only like half of the album maybe is on the special.
Yeah, I think I counted 4 songs that are missing from the special that are on the album, but you get all kinds of bonkers other songs that we're going to get into a little later.
Yeah.
Quick background here. As I mentioned, this premiered in 1979. I wasn't around yet. I missed the debut by a year. But I did not know this even existed until maybe late 80s or early 90s when the Muppets started coming into the Disney fold, and this started airing annually on the Disney Channel, maybe around 1989 or so, maybe even halfway through the 90s too. But so how this got started was John Denver first appeared on an episode of The Muppet Show in April 1979. It was actually the first episode of season 4, which as of this recording is still not available for purchase in the lovely Gonzo collector's box like CT was promised.
We were promised that. I still have a digital image of that Gonzo box. It is a crime against humanity that we have not gotten seasons 4 and 5 on DVD, and it needs to be fixed now.
Wait till next year. But after that episode, Jim Henson had brought forth the idea to John of recording a Christmas album with the Muppets. So they threw around some song ideas, and John went and recorded some demos in L.A., and he said he made room for the Muppet parts when he was recording them. And he flew back out to London, and they recorded the album starting June 29th, 1979, exactly 1 week after the American premiere of the Muppet movie. So there's your time frame. And so according to John, they recorded about 20 songs for this album before they whittled it down to 13 tracks. I can't even imagine what else they wrote for this. Maybe some of the stuff that ended up in the special, I'm not sure. But the album itself was released first in October of 79, which is why I had wrongly assumed that everybody had heard of that first. But the recording of that is what led to putting together this TV special later in the year. That premiered on December 5th, 1979 on ABC. And we opened the same way as the album with the 12 Days of Christmas.
The nicest thing I can say about the special overall is that I really love the extent to which it feels like a live performance, or that it feels like it's spontaneous and just sort of happening. And that's to the good and to the detriment of the special. To the good, obviously, whenever the Muppets are involved, but it's the stuff with Fozzie forgetting his lines.
Birds a leaping, 9 ladies dancing, 8 maids a milking, 6 geese a laying.
Is a little. It's amazing. It doesn't read awesome if you have only heard the album track and don't know what's going on, but everything plays so well in the actual performance of everything. And when Fozzie finally gets his line and then gives like the biggest like Muppet smile that has ever happened.
7 swans a swimming, 6 geese a laying.
It's really wonderful. It's also pretty striking right off the bat when the special starts to see the 1979 versions of like Fozzie and Piggy, and to realize,
yes,
this is where in time this happens.
Right. Yeah. Especially Miss Piggy. She has sort of the more prominent eyelids and the eyeshadow there, and she doesn't have that wide-eyed glow that she does. But Bill had mentioned that there are some differences between this 12 Days of Christmas and the one that was on the album. First, you have a few places switched. And the most striking one, right off the bat, you have Kermit coming in with the second day of Christmas, where on the album he waits until the end of day 12 there.
I wanted to make sure that we all take a moment to appreciate the incredibly rare pronunciation of partridge that John Denver is bringing to the table.
A partridge? He's not English.
It's very off-putting. And I'm glad that he only sings that line by himself once, but every time it comes around, you can hear his voice cutting through everyone else's voice, and he's very clearly saying partridge different than everyone else's.
Yes. Yeah, I think I had thought that he was an English actor when I was growing up, and then I realized, he's from Colorado?
He's actually born in New Mexico.
Born in New Mexico. Oh, I think I did know that.
It's a lie. His whole life is a lie. And his name isn't even John Denver. It's Henry John Deutschendorf Jr. He's a fake.
And now we know why he's so good at singing Silent Night in German.
Oh. We're learning so much about ourselves.
I do want to piggyback off something that Bill was saying about the opening scene and how it feels live. And I think that's a testament to the fact that it all had to have been pre-recorded, especially considering how many voices are the same. Like you got Fozzie and Piggy, both voiced by Frank Oz, and that's traditionally how they would do it on the Muppet Show. They would do all the songs recorded first, and then they would essentially Muppet lip sync. But you've got so many of these characters, like Scooter and Janice, I think are the same, and so many of these characters are voiced by somebody else. So it's like Frank Oz, if he's actually Muppeteering somebody, he's not actually doing it live. So John Denver is performing with this recorded song, and everybody like does a really good job at like doing, which is a pretty complicated song, I would say. They do a pretty good job at not only performing the song, but performing the song incorrectly at times. So it is pretty impressive.
Very impressive.
Yeah, it's very good.
And that's about where my being impressed stops. I have to say.
If I had to guess, I would guess that Frank is puppeteering Fozzie in this scene.
I would make that same guess just because of what you had said earlier about like the biggest Muppet smile you could. That's only something that really Frank Oz can do in that moment.
And like the like Fozzie like looking around for like to realize that he screwed up and like burying his face in his hands, like it's very Ozian. And like although Piggy does have a big so she does some heavy lifting in this song as well. She just has to like look frazzled once, and it's a relatively simple puppeteering job on her part.
Sure.
But I do also want to. So when I heard the first time I heard this Muppet version of 12 Days of Christmas, this is the first time I had ever heard 5 gold rings.
Yes, me too.
Okay, good. I wanted to know if I was the big weirdo. Or
no.
My whole life I had only ever heard golden.
Yeah, so did I. This is the first time I've ever heard that. I actually have a note about that too. It was like, where did this come from? Some of the other changes here, like I said, Kermit is filling in for Fozzie on the second day of Christmas on the album, and he doesn't lose his lines there. I guess that's why he's losing them here, because now he's all of a sudden the seventh day of Christmas because he has to replace a missing New Zealand.
Right. What? I'm off going and getting my boomerang fish.
You have a lot of different characters that you don't really hear often and would never think would be on the first track of an album. You got New Zealand. You have Bunsen and Beaker as the ninth day of Christmas, which is a charming little joke to start off an album there. Here in the special, they're replaced by Janice, which is good that we see her singing in the special, because one of the songs that is missing is the Muppets version of Deck the Halls. And my favorite part of that version is Janice singing, "Follow me in merry measure."
Yes. Yes, absolutely. 100%. There are a couple other things about this performance of 12 Days of Christmas that I enjoy. One is after Floyd sings Piper's Piping, Zoot plays the horn on the next line. Okay. And the same thing happens with after Rowlf sings his line every time. He does a piano flourish on the subsequent line. So like he's doing a thing and Zoot's doing a thing after like their respective parts are wrapped up. And I do also like that, like, obviously Animal has drummers drumming. Like,
yes, that was perfect.
Everything's lining up like in a character appropriate way.
Mm-hmm. Floyd also didn't get in the album version. That was Beauregard on the recorded version.
Well, I mean, like, you don't want to have Beauregard and Janice on the same track.
I guess not.
Because it's the same thing.
Right.
Well, what color are their hands now?
But I think because of the Fozzie thing, I like this version maybe even a little better than the album, or at least I like them for what each one is. But I also get how the album cut is trying to set the tone of a legitimately good Christmas album and not just goofy kid stuff. If you had Fozzie messing up his lines on the record, I don't think that becomes the must-play album it would very quickly become.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I think the visual of Fozzie messing up the lines and the puppeteering of that, I think, helps sell this. Where it's harder to do that on an audio track. You could, right, but it's better here because of the visual.
No, so instead they went with the audio joke of Beaker, which worked very well there. And one last thing I want to say about the Muppets and the 12 Days of Christmas is that they redid it almost perfectly 30 years later on Late Night with Jimmy Fallon. He and the Roots played this again with the Muppets, complete with Fozzie forgetting his part again in the very same spot. And again, some of the characters were changed again. For 9, 10, and 11, you had Pepe, because you got to put Pepe in there. You have Sam the Eagle replacing Statler and Waldorf, and then Rizzo came in replacing Floyd, who replaced Beauregard. So,
you said that was Late Night? That was something...
that was Late Night. That was 2009. Okay. So that was 30 years. I thought it was a lot more recent than that. But then I went and I couldn't find it again, and then I realized, oh, okay, that was almost 10 years ago now.
Stop, Mike.
All right, well, back to 1979 then, and the special officially begins with a table read with most of the Muppets present and all kind of chaotically talking over each other before John...
Hold on, real quick. I'm sorry, Mike, I don't want to interrupt. I think it's interesting the Muppets that they list as who's starring.
Oh, yes.
Starring.
Exactly.
Starring John Denver. And John's special guest stars Kermit the Frog, Miss Piggy, Fozzie Bear, Gonzo, Floyd, Scooter, and Rowlf.
So it's Kermit, Miss Piggy, Fozzie Bear, Gonzo, Floyd, Scooter, and Rowlf. And I find that an interesting set. Now the first four, I mean, those are the kind of the four.
Right.
But Floyd and Scooter, I'm sort of surprised that they get sort of like the top billing here and not like Animal or even Dr. Teeth. I would have thought would have been a bigger deal at the time.
Well, it's 1979. The show's only been around for, like, what year did the Muppet movie come out? Sorry, I don't know.
That year.
79?
79.
So the hierarchy of Muppets hadn't been established yet. You had Kermit and Piggy. I'm gonna guess that in a lot of circles, Scooter and Robin were probably big deals, and Fozzie probably just for sheer value of screen time he was getting.
Sure.
But even Gonzo was probably a bit like, again, in this special, you've got the 1979 version of Gonzo, so Purple Suit Gonzo. And he's not really a thing yet. So, like, at this point, we know who the big six Muppets are. Like in 2018, in 1979, no idea. I mean, like, arguably, Rowlf was the biggest star on the show because he predated the Muppet Show and he was on the Jimmy Dean show. So,
yeah, him getting the "and" does not surprise me. I guess Floyd and Scooter. I mean, maybe Scooter not as much because he was a pretty big part of the Muppet Show by that point. He would have been the one,
opens every episode.
13 seconds to curtain. Whoever, Julie Andrews, he's the one doing that in every episode. So
he's the Jack McBrayer of the Muppet Show.
Wow, yeah. I don't know why I never connected those two dots.
Or Jack McBrayer is the Scooter of 30 Rock.
30 Rock is basically just the Muppet Show.
It really is. In every wonderful way. So we begin with a table read, and they're all kind of chaotically talking over each other before John gets there and brings his own mostly peaceful order and gets down to business. And Floyd, who got fifth billing, says to John, "Long time no high C," which I didn't understand was a musical reference for years.
Singing joke.
I thought maybe John Denver just really liked Citrus Cooler.
Yeah, he needs some high C and turkey.
There you go. But John then asks where Miss Piggy is, and she comes running in amid the sound of dogs. And I thought at first, because I had watched The Muppet Family Christmas before I ever watched this, that they were going to do the whole grand entrance on the dog sled bit again. But no, Piggy explains the barking was coming from autograph hounds.
It's a good joke.
Are autograph hounds still around, or are they selfie bros now?
Let me assure you, knowing a lot of wrestling fans, autograph hounds are absolutely still a thing.
Oh,
Also living in Los Angeles, I promise you that is still a thing.
Oh, no. I thought it had just kind of transformed into, "Why didn't you follow me back on Twitter, you jerk?"
Well, there is also that, but I mean, there are a lot of premieres that happen and a lot of red carpets, and at every red carpet there will be a group of people bunched up near the red carpet, hoping that people will step off the red carpet to sign some of their things for them. But also there are the people who like camp out like hotels and airports to try and get autographs from especially wrestlers, but general stars in general. There's also, TMZ always has at least one camera at the airport baggage claim.
Of course they do. So the table read begins with Kermit going over the opening Christmas message, "Peace on earth, goodwill toward men." And Piggy interjects, like the responsible feminist she is, with, "What about goodwill toward women?"
Yes, this is where they start dissecting the Bible.
Yes. But, well, I mean, even the Catholic Church has retranslated it to people of goodwill, but...
Yeah, but has the Catholic Church added Lenny Kravitz?
No.
Okay.
Nor have they added Dizzy Gillespie, which we're about to
I'm sorry. Why I said Lenny Kravitz?
Lenny
I meant Dizzy
Kravitz.
Gillespie. Why did I say Lenny Kravitz? I don't even know. They're not the same at all.
Well,
Can we edit it so I say Dizzy Gillespie?
do it again.
No.
All right.
I'll be wrong. It was Dizzy Gillespie.
All right. Take one for the team. But here comes one of my favorite lines from this. Piggy fires back, the Bible, and I'm just going to cut it in here because I cannot do the Miss Piggy impression that you can do, CT. But
Jonathan, the Bible is filled with women. This one begat that one, and that one begat the other one. And from all the begatting that went on, it is quite obvious there was a great deal of goodwill toward women.
lest we forget, the pilot of the Muppet Show was titled Sex and Violence.
Sex and Violence.
Ladies and gentlemen, presenting the end of sex and violence on television.
Here's a sex joke from Miss Piggy to John Denver.
Hell yeah.
Well, that sets off a light bulb in Gonzo's head because he asks right after that, why stop there? Peace on earth to goodwill toward men and women and chickens. And then Fozzie, very innocently, adds a, how about bears? And then we get our Dizzy Gillespie line from Floyd.
I think you should say, peace on earth, goodwill toward men and women and chickens and bears and Dizzy Gillespie.
And then the Lenny Kravitz.
Then Lenny Kravitz.
Yes.
That was later. Which is fun to think about Dizzy Gillespie in a nativity scene. He's next to the little drummer boy playing the trumpet.
Oh, we'll get to a screwed up nativity scene soon enough.
We will. Well, the meeting devolves back into chaos before John launches into song, asking them, may I have the pleasure of your company?
May I have the pleasure of your company as we share this warm and friendly Christmas show.
I will say it's at this point while I'm watching it that I'm realizing, that's right, it's John Denver and the Muppets.
Yes. A lot of times in this special, and I think it was an old review on Tough Pigs that had joked that this is more like a Christmas next to each other.
Yeah, pretty much.
But John launches in the song, and all of a sudden this cold gust of wind and snow blasts open the door. So John goes out to investigate, and he's entered the void. He's green screened onto this white canvas of nothingness until, building by building, a full snowy town square magically appears. And I have no idea what's happening. Mm-hmm. And neither does John, but he seems to be fine with it because he continues the song as he mingles and dances with the hundreds of people that have now suddenly shown up.
Hundreds is being super generous, my man.
Dozens of people. Sixes, I don't know.
Yeah, I would go with, I would say I would top you out at tens.
Ones and ones of people. Yeah. Mingling and dancing with them, shopping for Christmas gifts. Fozzie's there as a Salvation Army Santa Claus.
The highlight of this whole sequence is the Swedish chef playing a piping hot skillet like a guitar for like half a second.
Yes. Which I didn't realize until I kind of went back on it. He's roasting chestnuts over an open fire. Is what's happening there.
And John Denver tries to grab one, but it's so hot it burns his hands.
Yes.
So the Swedish chef admonishes him, but then immediately flings all of his chestnuts just into the air and onto the ground, and then turns over this scalding hot iron skillet and starts strumming it like a guitar in a song where there is no guitar present.
Right. Statler and Waldorf heckle something about John having a Rocky Mountain High, which is a reference to his own album, but I also think it better explains the whole white void thing.
Right.
And there's a part where he goes to escort two older women carrying large packages into some dance, and then out from behind the old women appear these two young ballerina girls. And this, of course, is symbolic of how in this dimension they're in, all time is meaningless. And what actually is 5 minutes seems like 5 weeks.
Yes. Everything becomes meaningless while you're watching this song.
It really is. This was the one thing I remember about this special is just everything had that 70s relaxed feeling where it all just kind of dragged on until whenever they felt like quitting. And then right near the end, we have Link Hogthrob in his police chief getup from Bear on Patrol, I believe, who whistles in a line of dancing police officers in red earmuffs for a short dance, and then we end with a short joy to the world and peace on earth and goodwill to men and dogs and frogs and bears and chickens, and finally Piggy gives us our big finish with
And moi!
So this, as you mentioned, to me, this is where it really hit home. Like, oh, this is a 1970s variety show TV special that's about Christmas, because it fell out of vogue, I would say, right around the end of the 80s, but all the way up until like at least the mid 80s, there was just this, if you were doing a special and it was a variety show, you'd have song and dance, and you'd just have these segments. You'd have like 5 or 6 segments, and like, here's what we're doing, and we're going to just do it, and we're going to fill up the time with it. And as I was mentioning earlier about the loosey-goosey sort of improv type nature of the whole thing, that's to the good when it's like people cracking up at the Muppets, and to the bad when he's dancing with small children and you're like, oh, that's the best take you got, huh? Or did you just do the one take?
It's hard to tell.
Yeah, it might be, because I was watching it and I was like, they definitely just did one take, and then I was like, oh my god, what if this is just the best take? And that's a way more horrifying thought.
Oh no.
Like, it's much more comforting to think like, look guys, it took us forever to set this up. We got like 2 shots at this tops, and they got that shot, and they're like, good enough, let's go to the cops. And so it just goes on forever. John Denver isn't particularly good at dancing, but it's not going to stop the host of the show from doing a bunch of choreographed dance numbers. And it just we got to make everyone know this is Christmas, and dance with all these people. But the other big thought I had during this number is, void aside, the door behind him blows open while they're having a script meeting, and then he goes out and he's in a town and he's doing a dance number, and he will return to this town several times, which leads me to believe that it's actually just the town that they're in. And so to me, the entirety of the show really blurs the line of, is this the show they're putting on? Or is this just stuff that's happening around the show they're trying to put on? Because clearly the only thing that's definitively part of the show that they're putting on is the Fifi thing.
Right. Everything else is just, it's hard to tell whether they're making it up as they go along, or is it just... Again,
I don't think Kermit having existential crises out in the woods is part of the show that they're putting on.
No.
Well, it certainly tries to be the Muppet Show. Like, there's all this backstage stuff, but then it's not the Muppet Show in so many ways that, I mean, that's a great point. Like, I hadn't even considered about the fact that, like, there's only one song that's a show, but where is the show? Like, we don't see the stage, we don't see the red curtain, we don't see wherever it's being performed to have context for what the show is.
Well, I think the show that they're putting on is a TV special.
Okay.
I don't think it's a live performance of any sort, but it couldn't be less clear what is part of the show and what is just stuff that's happening while they're trying to put on a show.
Yes. Another side question. Do you think that the fake laugh track they used in the Muppet Show would have helped if they had used it in this?
1,000,000,000%.
I absolutely missed it. I'm not a big fan of laugh tracks, but I really missed it in this.
Yeah, there were so many moments where I was like, oh, we could really use an applause break or a laugh track here. Just
really could have.
Anything to make me feel alive for a moment. I just want to clarify, I enjoy whenever the Muppets are on screen.
Oh, yeah. No, you're in good company here.
The album is a delight. The album is a delight. It's just rough to watch as a special.
Oh, absolutely. No questions there. But since we have no idea what is and is not part of the special we're being presented, let's go to a short scene of Piggy talking with her agent on the phone while this is happening and trying to get him to bargain for a better part.
Yeah, I think this is actually the scene where I realized there was no laugh track. And this really could have used one.
That really could have. Because we have John walking in, and Miss Piggy starts putting the moves on John Denver.
John? Johnny! Do you realize that I have never seen you without your little glasses on? Oh, take them off, Jonathan. Take them off. Please take them off for me. Put them on, Jonathan. Put them on.
Yes, Miss Piggy.
Yeah, she's like, Miss Piggy is always down to clown, but she's exceptionally down to clown right here, and she's down to clown solely to get a better role, which is good for her.
Absolutely, that's the best part. This is all just to convince John to cut out whatever elf scene she was supposed to be in, and it works. He immediately promises Piggy he'll figure out something, and whatever was supposed to be the end of this special is now something completely different. And then the lines are blurred once again because someone knocks on the door and says 5 minutes to Mr. Denver. And suddenly we're out in the woods for another number. How does time work here?
5 minutes till you gotta go take a stroll.
Go get lost in the woods and tell us the story of Alfie the Christmas Tree.
Did you ever hear the story of the Christmas tree who just didn't want to change the show? He liked living in the woods and playing with squirrels. He liked icicles and snow.
Well, I think what happened was Denver went in the room, and before he went in, he told his assistant, now look, she's probably going to try and put the make on me. So in 2 minutes, knock on the door and say I got to be somewhere.
That was the escape cell phone call of 1979. Yeah. Knock on the door and tell me I gotta be on stage.
Miss Piggy refused to meet me in a public space. So,
oh no.
I think it's worth noting though. I felt like a couple of times during this John Denver Miss Piggy sequence, John Denver, he does okay, but there's a couple times where he's about ready to break character. He is very amused by Miss Piggy. And I think there's even one scene where it's
hair, when she gets her hair in her mouth, she spits it out, and he clearly cracks up, and she keeps going, and he looks straight down the barrel of the camera.
Yes, he does.
Are we still doing this? Yeah, for confirmation of whether they should keep going, and a bunch of frantic hand motions from behind the camera indicated to him that yes. But yeah, that's the biggest break. But there are a couple moments in here where he loses.
They must have had this studio for 17 minutes, and that was it. We have no time for redos. It is you do it one take and we're moving on.
Yeah, it really adds to it though. It makes it so much better. Her admittedly lame joke about take your glasses off, now put your glasses back on. Her delivery and him cracking up at her delivery and her reaction is really what makes the scene.
That is absolutely the best part of that scene for me as well. You got to hand it to Frank Oz, who has that talent to keep this bit going as long as he himself can keep into that character. But again, now we're back out to the woods in the middle of nowhere as John tells us his story of Alfie the Christmas Tree, which it's a delightful little bit on the record here, and it translates pretty nicely in this one scene here. You have some of the Muppet critters coming out of the woods, listening to the tale. And John noted, to a large degree, the Muppets themselves were the inspiration for him writing this, which he called one of his very favorite compositions. That's the first half of this song, and then the second half is It's in Every One of Us.
It's in every one of us.
Which appears later in Muppet Family Christmas, sung by Robin, and then it apparently also appears in the other John Denver and the Muppet special, Rocky Mountain Holiday, but don't be fooled by the title like I was. That takes place in the summer.
It is not
and it also
special.
No.
It's in Every One of Us is like so good, so good, and that's one of my favorite, just Muppet related songs ever. But I just like it's a bummer that the entirety of this song isn't just that part.
Right, and well, I mean, John Denver's got to get his environmental message out there because that was a big message for him. So, and that's a very charming little tale. Like, while you're having a Merry Christmas and having a great time with all your gifts, and in your prayers this year, say a prayer for the wind and the water and the wood, because we don't know how long this is all going to last if we're going to keep treating it like garbage. And then we get to Sad Kermit, who's feeling bummed. Well, making Kermit actually appear sad is tricky, because he literally has a built-in smile. Look closely, kids. The corners of Kermit's mouth turn upward. It's a real thing, but he's feeling bummed because he misses his family on Christmas, and he's really trying to not upset John by this, but then he launches into just joke after joke, which I love when Kermit gets to be the funny one, because it seems at the same time very expected and very unexpected.
Makes him a complicated character.
Yes.
My favorite of his jokes in this segment were, "Help, help," he croaked.
Yes.
I remember there was this cute little tadpole who always used to leap around saying everything was easy as falling off a log.
Yeah.
Well, it was one Christmas he had a terrible accident.
What happened?
He fell off a log. Poor little fella, he just croaked.
He died?
Oh, no, he croaked. Help, help, he croaked. Oh, we helped him up and he was okay.
Maybe he was sad because he had overheard these bummer songs that John Denver was belting out in the middle of the woods.
Could be. You're really bringing the whole special down, John.
I find it interesting how he's nostalgic for the old swamp or whatever, but that's something we never really see with Kermit. Like I think he's pretty happy most of the time. Like he's not back in the swamp. So this is a rarity for Kermit to see that.
It is, and I mean, we always see him on the road for Christmas. So, but this might have been one of the first ones. So,
you're right. And I mean, the only other time I think I've seen, the Muppet movie, he's pretty sad there when he realizes that the bus is broken down and he's the dream is going to die, and then he's sad one time when he realizes he's green and it's not so easy.
Oh yes,
that's pretty sad.
But this launches into Kermit's Christmas song, The Christmas Wish.
I don't know if you believe in Christmas, or if you have presents underneath the Christmas tree.
Which might be one of my favorite songs on the album. It's like my dark horse favorite song. Just because of its message that, I don't know if you believe in Christmas or if you have presents underneath the Christmas tree, but if you believe in love, this is supposed to be a time to come together. So let's forget all the crap and just be nice to each other for a day, please. One day it'll probably happen.
Just one day.
Then we get to our built-in commercial and we're back to Piggy getting her makeup did and explaining she'll not be playing an elf anymore. And that's when John comes in and tells her the writers are still working on her part, but it's going to be magic, and instructs the very capable makeup team of New Zealand and Beaker to, quote, make her up to fit anything. I didn't know that was an option. But now a very excited Piggy launches into Christmas is Coming, the round style song.
Christmas is coming, the goose is getting fat. Put the penny in the old man's hat. If you haven't such a
Yes.
And whereas the album, she's only accompanied by Gonzo, Robin, and Scooter. Here, she starts out with Gonzo and New Zealand and Beaker who were there, and then everybody else kind of comes into frame, and it's nuts.
Mm-hmm. This is very great, very fun. It's nice to see it after having heard it so many times. Also, right when she gets up and starts really rocking out is when I realized that this, from this special, is used pretty heavily in those Muppets lip syncing remix videos that were popular a couple years ago.
Oh, yes. I didn't even realize that until you just said it. Yeah, they're all in here. Just because they all kind of come into frame, you got Rowlf comes out of nowhere, and then here comes Fozzie, and here's at least half of the Electric Mayhem, but only about half. And it's a party until everyone makes their way out again, and we get the same punchline.
Miss Piggy! Whoa! Don't stop it now! Miss Piggy! Hee-haw! Whoa! What? We're finished!
Oh. I knew that.
And then we're back to solemn again, because it's night in the village from nowhere, and John singing his Christmas song, A Baby Just Like You.
A Savior King was born that day, a baby just like you.
And this was my mom's favorite song on the album, because John's son Zachary and later his daughter were both adopted, and that's our family too. My brother and sister and I were all adopted, so this holds that special place in my family's heart. But
I think this is the most John Denver of the songs. Like, this to me seems like some of the others don't seem John Denver-ish, but this one is like, this could have been, take out the lyrics, make them not Christmassy, and it could show up on any of his other albums. This total John Denver.
So I think the song is awesome. I love listening to it on the album. But like if you're not paying close attention to the lyrics, the Merry Christmas Little Zachary part comes out of like pretty much nowhere.
Merry Christmas, little Zachary.
And like the first time I heard the song, like I went online to look up the lyrics, and I had to read it like so many times because like whatever it was, my brain just like kept shutting off like halfway through reading the lyrics. Like, oh man, who is this song about? Where does it talk about who Zachary is?
that is a big culture shock. I didn't think of it like that. I mean, I had my mother to explain it to me, but my mom's a big John Denver fan anyway, so I've heard all of his Christmas material, and this is on one end of the John Denver Christmas song spectrum. And then the other end of the John Denver Christmas song spectrum is a lovely little tune called Please Daddy, Don't Get Drunk This Christmas.
Oh, God.
Real song.
Please, Daddy, don't get drunk this Christmas.
But right here again is where I think we have a very obvious built-in commercial break of John just kind of walking back out into what's now the night in this magically appearing town square. And then we're lowered into a darkened studio with John and Rowlf at the piano singing Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas.
This was always one of my favorite songs, just by whoever has to sing it. And I thought the audio was the exact same as the album, but it's apparently not. And the only way I could tell is that Rowlf cannot stand silence. Even when he's playing the piano, he's always got to say something like, "Oh, that's nice, John."
It's true.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right, yeah.
I mean, that's very often a very Muppety thing, or even any sort of character where they always have to kind of comment in the middle, even if it's just like, yeah. But Rowlf, for some reason, it stands out more here.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Is it because Rowlf is the original Poochie?
That's nice.
I have to go now. My planet needs me.
There you go. Rowlf's, one of my all-time faves. So yeah, this is great. One of my favorite holiday songs as well. So just a big success all the way around. Every time I see Rowlf doing his stuff, though, I'm always impressed at the fake piano playing, and I'm always
fake,
ring ring brother,
and I'm always very invested in, like, did they cut the strings of the piano, or is it just like a fake piano that they built? What are the logistics of this piano? Because I don't think he's like wailing on all the wrong keys and then they just opened up later, because that would be impossible to puppet.
I was about to say, it's John Denver trying to keep a straight face while Rowlf's just kind of banging wrong keys in the piano.
Plank, plonk, plank.
Because, like you said, it's definitely fake piano playing, because I'm sure someone looks very carefully at this and is just like, oh, that's not the right key.
It's always great pantomime piano playing is what I'm always impressed by.
Oh, yeah.
by two different people's arms, no less.
Yeah.
Like one guy's doing one and another guy's doing the other.
Yeah, really. Maybe that makes it easier to concentrate on just that one side of it.
Or maybe it's just Jim Henson in the mouth hole, and Chico Marx is doing both hands.
Oh, I hope so.
That's a nice.
But right at the end, we have a distraught and angry Miss Piggy run in, wanting to know why her big part has now gone to someone named Fifi.
Who is Fifi?
And John simply says, no one could be Fifi, but you are Fifi, Piggy. And we're whisked right into the big number that I think we finally have now all come to agreement that this is what the special is supposed to be. It starts, the thing we've been watching for a half hour is about to begin.
I think it's vague as to whether or not that the him being called into the woods is a part of the show or not.
I kind of like it that way, which is, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was just scheduled, his scheduled constitutional.
There you go.
Like, John Denver for sure had, like, takes a walk in the woods built into his writer or whatever. Like,
absolutely.
If anyone ever did.
That is the most John Denver writer you can get. But before I launch into the actual special, or what we think it is, which constitutes a song called Camaraderie and a cover by Miss Piggy of the song I Will Wait For You, do you guys have any thoughts on this one?
This is another thing that I think was like legally, governmentally mandated, is that every Christmas special has to have something involving toy soldiers. And it's something that I think people of our age or younger couldn't possibly give less of a crap about. But every single holiday special before the year like 1990, there's going to be something about toy soldiers in there. So just buckle up and grit your teeth and get through the toy soldiers, and let's never speak of it again. But boy, this just kept going on.
Oh yeah, you think they're going to do something nutcrackery, but nope. We see John and his fellow toy soldier troops kind of lining up, and John's like the one who can't quite get everything right, so he's backward when everyone else is forward. He's got to take a few steps back, and we have those lovely little put in later in post sound effects of him kind of creaking his head this way or that.
Like, if this were a Disney animated short or part of a Disney movie, all the other soldiers would be like super jacked and like super duper macho and 8 feet tall, and John Denver would be John Denver with his Martina Navratilova looking ass. And in live action, in execution, it doesn't. If he's supposed to be the klutz, it doesn't read very well because he dances pretty much as well as everyone else, and he's basically the same size as everyone else, and pretty much everyone has the same haircut because it's 1979, and everyone's got big toy soldier red cheeks on, so nothing like bleeds through. But the toy soldier part, whatever. Miss Piggy singing "If It Takes Forever" is spectacular.
If it takes forever, I will wait for you.
Also, the super creepy shot of the box opening up and her sitting up.
Oh yeah, they did that. I'm glad they. Well, that was practice for the Christmas toy when they did it with Meteora. They got, all right, well now we have to let her kind of like yell first and then get out.
I thought it was practice for the Annabelle series.
Could be. But yes, Piggy sings... Well, no, before we get to Piggy, let's talk about this song, Camaraderie.
We have that most particular thing as anyone can see. We've got camaraderie.
This is the first time I had ever heard that word as a child, and I'd never heard it again until anyone talking about this special, really.
Huh.
I mean, it comes up again here or there, but... And then I remember hearing them spell it, and I thought, that can't be right. Nope, it's right, that's a word.
It's A-C-A-M-A-R-D-R-I-E.
And then we see John and his fellow troops whisked away through the distant sounds of cannon explosions, and here's Fifi's cue, and she sings I Will Wait For You, which is from the 1964 musical The Umbrellas of Cherbourg. And that's been covered dozens of times, but I know the Connie Francis version. And I'm going to ask you, CT, do you happen to remember where you've heard this Connie Francis version before?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot.
I am putting you on the spot.
I want to say, was it a duet with Lenny Kravitz?
It could be.
Lenny Kravitz on the brain over here.
I can't.
Right?
Yes, Futurama. Bill said it, Futurama. It's at the very end of the episode Jurassic Bark.
Oh.
When it's revealed. Yes, that one. When it's revealed Fry's dog Seymour, assumed to have lived a long, happy life after Fry was frozen, actually spent the rest of his days waiting outside the pizza place for him, ever so faithfully, ever so patiently.
What a sad episode.
Oh, yeah, that's like the most gutting animated scene. Which is later retconned and further explained, but for a few years there, that was just, oof, the sads. But Piggy just knocks it out of the park here, as she's wont to do. And then that song kind of ends with their little slow motion run to each other as John the Toy Soldier and Fifi are reunited, interrupted by Piggy stopping and commenting,
I seem to remember doing this in a movie somewhere.
That movie came out that year. Which I just love that they call back so quickly that, hey kids, watch the Muppet movie. It's probably still in theaters because that's how the 70s work.
Plug.
Well, I would imagine that the Muppet movie brought a lot more people to Muppets, like movies coming out and staying in theaters and being a cultural touchstone along with the 3 television channels are probably a big reason of like, oh, there's a John Denver special and he's with the Muppets and I remember them from that movie. Like things stuck around in people's memories a lot longer, but it was also fresh enough that they were probably capitalizing on the Muppet movie.
Oh yeah. But it was a great little gag there that they were able to pull in because of that. I didn't put the pieces together that, oh, that's funny because that's a new movie still. And they finish out the last part of the camaraderie song before they hear Santa overhead, and then they go back into their boxes. Once again, how does time work? Had Santa not been there yet, and these are other people's gifts from someone else?
Yes.
That was a tough one, but not just, hey, here come children down the stairs. No, Santa's coming. And from there, we are brought onto a staged living room scene, which is taped before a live audience. So now I don't know what's happening with anything.
And I love how many Christmas specials of this time end with the like let's all sing carols around the fire together. I mean, even the Muppet Family Christmas did this. But that's exactly how this special should have ended. Just all gather around. It's time to do some carols.
It's time for our carol sing. Mm-hmm. A lot less crowded this first time.
A lot less crowded.
Oh, yes. We start with the Peace Carol.
The branch that bears the bright holly, the dove that rests in yonder tree.
Which is almost ripped straight from the album. It's John and Scooter doing the main parts. Good on Scooter getting a decent part in this song.
Well, he's 6th billing in the whole special. He should have something.
Oh, that's true.
He hasn't really done anything yet, so good for him finally showing up and doing something.
Yeah, the John and Scooter duet might be my favorite music bit of the whole special.
And then we launch into John's retelling of the Nativity story, and here come Muppet Mary and Joseph and Baby Jesus.
Baby Jesus is right. Because it's a real freak show going on here, and I don't mind telling you.
It's always just, I mean, this is the Uncanny Valley personified. Just Muppet humans. Have always seemed a little bit unsettling, but try as they might, here they are, with a nice little touch of the scene of Mary getting the message from the angel Gabriel uses the same kind of floating underwater effect that we get later with the Ghost of Christmas Past in A Muppet Christmas Carol. I don't know if you guys noticed that as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. Like, they love... the Henson Company loves realistic creepy little like baby looking cherub puppets, and they see also the baby band. But they also love the Pepper's Ghost effect that's used in Muppets Christmas Carol, that's used in the I'm Looking Through You ghost thing from Muppet Show. They love Pepper's Ghost.
Yes.
And these Muppets have 4 fingers and a thumb.
Ugh, gross.
Oh, do they?
At least Joseph does.
Oh, I didn't notice that, but there you go. I was kind of disappointed that, like, Baby Jesus wasn't a baby band baby, but I guess you have to... But I do want to point out that Jesus Christ has his own page on the Muppet Wiki.
Oh, hell yeah.
And it's actually pretty extensive. It lists, like, all the references to Christ in Muppet programming.
So they're assuming it's this character.
It could be. Like, that's the first image that pops up, but then right underneath, it's like a nativity scene in Doc's workshop on the Bells of Fraggle Rock. And here's a crucifix owned by Johnny Fiamma's mother on Muppets Tonight.
Oh, man.
It's just like, here are a few depictions of baby Jesus in Don't Eat the Pictures, because they're at an art museum. But
also, am I misremembering this? Or is baby Jesus in this scene super blonde?
Super blonde. Full head of curly blonde hair.
Toe-headed.
And the bluest eyes I've ever seen on a Muppet.
I'm pretty sure that's how he looked in real life.
Yeah.
I mean, that has to be how he looked.
And from Muppet Jesus, we have to bring everyone back down with Silent Night, or as the Muppets, the American Muppets and John Denver originally sang it, Stille Nacht, the German version.
Well, what's great about... Again, I love the rendition on the album. It's super duper weird to have John Denver just start everyone singing in German before explaining why they're singing in German.
Right.
There's no
He explains it after that.
They just all know the German words to this song.
Oh, yeah. All very fluent in their German. Like, I can expect it for maybe Gonzo. For some reason, like, that German... Because his voice is the one that kind of carries over all the others. It's that nasally. It's like, still enough. Whereas John and his partridge carries over everyone else at the beginning. It's Gonzo at the end here.
And am I wrong, or is the Swedish chef suddenly not around in this special when they have to sing in German?
Hey, I think you're right. I don't see him at the end.
Discriminating ass John Denver.
But right as everyone starts singing Silent Night in English, we pan out to reveal that this is before a live studio audience, and all the children are singing. And the one close-up of the kid kind of looking around and not singing or doing anything and kind of just, I have no idea what's going on. That is John Denver's son, Zachary.
Oh, wow.
I had to look that up to confirm it. I've only seen, like, my mom, who knows everything about John Denver for some reason, like, said, that's Zachary, there he is. Like, how do you know that? But here, if you've seen an adult picture, and I saw an adult picture of Zachary Denver accepting his father's star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, that's the same guy.
Amazing. I sort of, by the end of this special, I sort of expected the camera to zoom out and like the whole thing to have taken place inside a snow globe.
That would have been the best way to end this.
Well, I agree. I mean, I am a Westfall.
And it would have predated St. Elsewhere.
It would have. They could have. I mean, they did the zooming out trick just in the Muppet movie. So, man, they should have done a rainbow. Oh, it was right there, guys. Not Christmas enough.
If I know anything from watching television and living in California my whole life, it's that rainbows don't happen at Christmas.
That's true. And then we have our closing credits with special musical material and choral direction by Ray Charles, but not that Ray Charles. Jim Henson's buddy Ray Charles, the white guy.
Perfect.
And of course, the We Wish You a Merry Christmas, that's almost straight from the album, but without all the fun parts. No piggy pudding, no Gonzo admitting that he eats bacon right in front of Miss Piggy. No, won't go!
Yeah.
Anything else for you guys that you guys wanted to say about this album before I did want to touch real quickly on the songs on the album that are not on the special?
Just that the album's a great listen. A good thing to toss on in the holiday season and just let it play. A good thing to, if you don't want to think too hard around Christmas time, toss it in on the car if you got a drive to take. And can't recommend the album enough. Can't say the same for the special.
No. Well, I think the album, it's kind of like the Muppet Christmas Carol, where you hear so many of these songs over and over and over again, or the Christmas Carol story is told over and over and over again. But the Muppets with the Christmas Carol reinvigorated it, and it's like that is actually like my preferred Christmas Carol version, and that's how I feel about a couple of the songs on the album. Like 12 Days of Christmas, I could go without ever hearing that song again by anybody else. But the Muppets version, I want to hear that at least once, twice, 3 times a year around Christmas time.
Well, going back to 12 Days of Christmas, the only other version I remember hearing before that as a kid, or around the same time, because again, this is one of my earliest memories, but we also had a Disney version of this, and it's all Mickey Mouse and his friends being Goofy.
Well, that's right.
Because Goofy was there. So Goofy was in the role of the 5 golden rings. He says golden.
Just throwing in some Disney characters, Disney voices too.
There you go. Well, I mean, they're all in the family now.
They are.
Soon to be joined by Futurama, so we've come full circle. But I counted 4 songs on the album, not on the special. We talked about Deck the Halls. There was Where the River Meets the Sea, which we've heard previously in Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas. This version's primarily John and Robin, which at the same time is better produced than the Emmett Otter version, but somehow not as good.
And there's also a video online of Jerry Nelson and I don't remember her name, Barbara Gold, singing Where the River Meets the Sea at Jim's memorial service.
Oh, that's right. Oh, maybe that's why I like that one better.
Yeah.
There's a song called Noel, Christmas Eve 1913, about some guy walking through the woods in 1913 on Christmas Eve.
They already had their Walking in the Woods song on this special, so I guess they couldn't do it again.
It's like, nope, you ruined it with Alfie. That's all we got outside.
We only got the one Walking Through the Woods song.
Well, and that's the weakest link on the album, I think. So I guess someone recognized that and cut it from the special. And then the last one that didn't make it in, unfortunately, was the Electric Mayhem's version of the Beach Boys' Little Saint Nick.
That needed to be on this. Yeah. That desperately should have cut out some of the dancing Boyd Town. They should have cut out some of the toy soldiers. And what else?
Well, they're playing in the gazebo right there.
Well, yeah, they could. You're right. They could have just slipped it in then. Like, let's just do Little Saint Nick right there.
Right. But I had no idea that was a Beach Boys song until maybe my late teens. I thought that was an Electric Mayhem original.
No.
Never knew about the Beach Boys at a Christmas album. Now my son loves the Beach Boys Christmas album. It'll be March. Play the Beach Boys Christmas album. I think I have to reintroduce the animal version there. Any last thoughts?
This was a 50-minute special. So this is, like we said before, this 1979. This is back in the days when there were, I guess, fewer commercials. And man, I felt it. I never wished for 8 minutes more of commercials than I did while watching this.
Yeah, it's fun to watch the Muppet parts. It's fun that there's such an informal feeling to a lot of the parts of the Muppets. It's great if there was an edit of this that was just like the 18 minutes of the Muppet content or whatever. Like, I love anytime the Muppets are just sitting around in a big group and singing. I love the Scooter and John Denver duet. I love the Kermit stuff. I love 12 Days of Christmas. I love Rowlf and John. But just whenever the Muppets aren't around, it just drags so hard. And sometimes when the Muppets are around. But it's an interesting thing to watch once. I'll listen to the album for the rest of my life. I don't think I'll ever watch the special again.
Whenever Rolf's not on camera, we're wondering, where's Rowlf?
That's right. All that said, if they put this on DVD, I would still buy it.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
100%. I'm going to buy it. Yeah. I'm not saying I'm not going to buy Muppet stuff.
I have it on a RIP DVD that's terrible, terrible quality. That was taken from the VHS tape that we had just taped it off the Disney Channel. So there's that, and I'll gladly make a copy for both of you.
Oh no, I don't. I'm just saying if they ever do because I bought the Rocky Mountain Holiday originally thinking it was this. Popping the thing in, because that DVD came out like 15 years ago or something. Popped it in. It was not this.
Oh, it's very much not this. It's just like, why is everything so green?
But yes, I would. If there's an original, an official release of this, I would buy it for no other reason to show my support for why they need to release seasons 4 and 5 of the Muppet Show on DVD.
I was going to say, give us seasons 4 and 5 first, and then this.
That's not how things work.
Yeah, well. Well, if anyone listening to this wants the pleasure of your company, where can they find you on the magically appearing town square that is the internet, Bill?
You can find me on all social media at Sundown Motel. I'm currently between outlets at the moment.
And CT.
You can find me on the Nerd Lunch podcast. You can find all the information about that podcast at nerdlunch.net. We have a regular Nerd Lunch that releases a couple times a month, and then there's other shows that show up in the off weeks for us as well. All the information, nerdlunch.net, and you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at nerdlunch.
And I'm on Twitter at FallWestMike, and the show's on Twitter at AdventCalHouse, and you can go to adventcalendar.house if you're not already subscribed by now. Smash that subscribe button on your podcast player.
Please, won't you do that?
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
The Advent Calendar House is part of the Christmas Podcast Network. To find more shows like this one, visit ChristmasPodcastNetwork.com.
Hi everyone, Dwayne Bailey here from the Tinsel Tunes podcast. Did you know Silent Night is the most recorded holiday song of all time? Over 137,000 times and counting. Come join us each month as I dive into Christmas music and reveal lots of interesting facts like that. Also, learn about your old favourites, as well as getting a heads up for the new music each season. We're on all the podcast networks like iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Podcasts. Check out our website, tinseltunes.com, for all the links as well as our socials. I look forward to seeing you all soon.
Next time on the Advent Calendar House.
Christmas at Walt Disney World.